It's already 1:30. I hope you all had a good lunch. How is everyone? I hope you are hearing me, no? Yeah, technology right now has its advantages, no, and also some disadvantages. Uh, okay, so I'm seeing here that we already have Mr. Fathun from Indonesia, if I'm not mistaken. No, that's right. Are you there, Mr. Fathun? Okay, I guess we should wait a little bit for the two other. Yes, thank you, Mr. Fathun. We are still waiting for the other two presenters. I hope they come in soon. And okay, I see. But would you be able to use your microphone later, Mr. Fathun? Maybe for the Q&A? Okay, so we'll see how this goes. I see. Okay. In this room, we are now 29 strong, and we also have people here could help us arrange or facilitate our room. No, we have also some,
Okay.
how do I
Thank
say
you
this?
very much.
Technical. Yeah. Thank you. Now I can hear you.
Okay,
Nice
White, please. I want to share my presentation recording. Please wait.
Okay, we will start in a couple of minutes. I'm just trying
Okay.
to wait for the other two. Maybe in 3 minutes they would be here already.
Show up my presentation.
In a while, we will start in a while. We will start in a while. You could prepare for now. Thank you, Mr. Fathun.
Okay,
you.
thank you very much.
Okay. So, all right. So I guess we could start now, and let me just proceed with the house rules. Okay. Let me just read for you the house rules. Okay, just a couple of reminders. Use appropriate equipment for the webinar. When using a mobile phone, use a headset, reduce the noise that they pick in your location. Put your phone on silent mode. Avoid talking while the webinar is ongoing. Keep your microphones on mute at all times. Be courteous and do not engage in a chat with others while the webinar is ongoing. You may participate actively and ask your questions during the open forum. So later on, we'll have an open forum after the speakers have already spoken. Anything else for the reminders? Okay, so I guess that's it. Before anything else, I'd like to introduce myself. I am Patrick Bugarin, and I'd be your panel chair for security in the Anthropocene. I think I am expecting a lot of interesting discussion later on in this time of the, Anthropocene, if I may. We are seeing actors who are much more capable, if I may, of changing the world. And I hope we could, in a way, relate that to the idea or our idea of security. But first of all, we have to take into consideration and to think that we are producers of knowledge too. So in a way, if you would like to connect this to Dr. Dalia's keynote speech earlier, and the comments, we have a lot of learning and learning to do, if I may. So yeah, I won't keep you waiting for too long. I guess we could start with Mr. Fathun first.
Okay, thank you
Okay,
very
anyway,
much.
he is here already.
Okay, I want to share my presentation recording. Please wait.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you everyone. Thank you, Mr. Patrick, for your attention for me and for presentation myself. Um, uh, this conference is very grateful for me and to choose me for to be presenter. I want to share my recording because if I want to present is now is very noise, yeah. So I recording my present for useful and your listening. Thank you. Please listening my presentation. Century challenge for global environment change. A study city diplomacy. You know, I want to explain my paper with four domains. Uh, the first about climate change effect. The second about anthropocentrism and ecocentrism. The third about city diplomacy by Taipei, Jakarta, and views for the geocentrism of human. Okay, climate change is fundamental of global politics today, and is the emergent environmental issue part of global trade and stated the dimension of the state and non-state actor. Consequences of climate change, low territorial boundaries and treat human life, and the emergency of climate change for problem, example, natural disaster, uh, melting glacier, floods, tsunamis, weather change, uh, land, landslides, greenhouse gases, and edge. Dimension, and that's all argue the climate change is high level also throws the green humanitarian issues such as economic uh, inequality, such structural weakness, dimension of justice, technique, financing of environmental image, and other. So the issue of climate change also implications for sustainability and social economy, the world population, especially developmental countries. Why? Because climate change is very different situation because the climate change has the potential causes to handle social conflict, employment, emergence for the disaster and the other problem. So international, we are needs international cooperation through climate change cooperation evidence the seriousness of international relations sector and to able control to climate change through humanitarian issues. Climate change is consequences of the energy sector. For example, climate change also to potential pollution, environment, the root, destroy to health and natural ecosystem. And the complex problem of the greenhouse greenhouse gases, uh, which makes geothermal emission in clay condition condition turn of the trade with human activity for energy industrialization. So the as both the local and global level corporations, some of the actors involved include the United Nations Framework Convention and Climate Change, G7, G8, G20, WHO, UNEP, UNDP, and other organizations for condition the complexity of global governance problems. Environmental issue is one concern of important issue in international relations. Daily side to identification several factors for important issue for international relations. The first, environmental issue is harmful and negative effect for the strength of those. The second, exploitation natural resources led to environmental damage. The third, environmental issues are cross-country and global problem in government. The fourth, land exploitation causes land to be degraded and causes emission. And the five, environmental management activities are related to economic, political, and social interests. How to global environment to be globalized issue? The condition of economic, political, and economic for human culture. Anthropocentrism, ecosystem service. Anthropocentrism refers to human manifest and profit planet Earth for terrestrial because human behavior itself. Within anthropocentrism, the long-term attitude and interhuman activity in the positive direction. According Orrington cites anthropocentrism, reality format a result impact of human activities to Earth and impact to more effects without involving individual, communal, other actors. The relationship living and non-living things. Anthropocentrism, in reality, developed the not singular and limited human activity. Human relation with nature must make a more human approach as not the basis of exercise management. ISO 2021. My paper focus too about climate change is the most amazing thing mankind has done because it means 2060 climate change will be deadly as the COVID lifetimes deadly 2000 climate change will cause all hits per 100 population of the next 40 years left. There's even Anies Baswedan says to formulation of Jakarta diplomacy related environmental issues. My argument refers to Bill Gates' statement about climate change is important issue in international relations post-COVID. You know, COVID is a dangerous issue of international relations, but Ministry for Finance in Indonesia, Sri Mulyani cites to Indonesia, this country has the potential to serious impact of climate change danger. Climate change due to the demographics and archaeology countries. So Indonesia expecting to be reduce the emission 2040 until 2045. And the Biden president of United States says to Jakarta would sing next uh, in the next 10 years. LIPI, LAPAN, NASA, and environmental engineering of UNEP ECO Pacific cite global warming causes of the potential drift of the shaping of the 11 urban district Indonesia 2030. Kuncoro also related the increased North Pole related also by global warming. Example, between 2001 until 2001 until 2009, there was a sea level rise of 1 until 1.5 meters. Ecos say that North Jakarta area for potential sink along level of the cities. So those the match of land we see the human behavior itself, the very good Islam of Quran size 2 Ar-Rum chapter 41 Al-Quran size 2 As-Surah 151 until 52. Even the toll goods has side to sold the note instead are they replay the did repair. But the fact today will do the next do not realize. This version applies to recovery and meaning of concentration and anthropocentrism. Change reflected temporal, spatial, and consequential dimension. So, city government drove to city diplomacy led by leadership group of C40 diplomacy objective the analyze the liable resources within city. Because city diplomacy is very important of the include the role for regarding the state attitude of the use natural resources. The city 40 section very important because it's bring together what city leaders provide for solution to the challenge climate change. The second, draw inspiration and innovation from some the world major city tackling climate change. The three provide to advise city leaders in the initiative policy and influence national and international policy to harness collective points. City diplomacy in action. Furthermore, city action to COP 23 in Fiji. COP 24 and COP 26 in Scotlandia 2021. Jakarta city diplomacy. Anies Baswedan, the father of Jakarta, held to bilateral meeting with the mayor of London preparation for 2021 South Investment Forum. During the meeting, Anies cited the London city the some spirit of Jakarta and London member of Committee C40. Climate change is serious action in the leaders in facing this global issue. The governor Anies policy to make Papua less emission zone, according to Danish ambassador of Indonesia, Kurt Larsen strongly support Anies policy. This policy sent to Copenhagen enforced such a policy at the first public heat note and was controversial. But after the time policy very popular, Copenhagen is third city based on physical free zone of the Pedrian zone. The governor of Jakarta carried to city diplomacy dialogue between city 40 Mayor United Nations Secretary General about carbon neutrality, resilience, recovery, city and national meeting on April 60, 2021. The forum attended to number mayor and the World Secretary General United Nations Antonio Guterres. During the session, Governor Jakarta and his Baswedan side to United Nations about the climate change. United Nations must encourage countries the involvement city. The world is real action in responding to climate change contribution. B. United Nations must encourage the integration of communication, synergy, horizontal and vertical policy in responding to climate change. C. At the COP26 speech, dialogue in United Nations expanded to enable encourage the comprehensive financial assistance to be executed to local level. One, Jakarta concrete action related carbon emission to just to change transportation spend for private facility to public transportation. Jakarta, with representative of United Nations, especially with dialogue United Nations President Coordinator and Republic of Indonesia, Mr. Dancer, Senior of UNESCO, Official Jakarta, Mr. Yolanda Jolfa, size to collaborate issue of climate change include the water and climate change program because Jakarta is delta city area that is prone the land subsidence. The second, United Nations Environment Program, UNEP. This program is facilitated by the Ministry of Environment and Forestry, make dust transportation in Jakarta versus electricity. The three, Young and Green Job Program for capacity building and training to create the green job skill and energy sector. The fourth, climate resilient investment aimed to create the strengthening business initiative to decline Jakarta. And the five, the urban low emission development strategy urban leads program as to burn collaboration the reduce the greenhouse effect in Jakarta, which also supported by the United Nations Habitat and ACLEAP. So, geocentrism post-human. According to author observing the biology is the part of contemporary international relation because biology part of both international relation studies from a point point of view, the first time. The second, anthropocentrism, ecocentrism must be changed to post-human geocentrism, because to change the place where human beings live, namely Earth, must to base it on just, safe, comfortable, controlled, and responsible ecology. Even the most important innovation based to develop without resources will inevitably run out. The post-human geocentrism approach in natural indigenous approach that look the mind of ecological impact on human activity, based on mitigation, adaptation, innovation. Geocentrism must feel that nature is a part of human beings, must preserve it and maintain it. The three, the pattern of corporation with basic altruism, namely corporation priority, state actor and non-state actor. So in context aspect for natural deposit only the generation. Therefore, cooperation must be based on compliant, namely countries, but violent agreement must be given sanction. Example, flying weapon donation for country, something with the agreement award and party the care issue. The five non-state actor and non-state actor as to NGO, AGO community make the smallest contribution either the term of climate change action of the sustainability human life and other creator of earth. Thank you very much for your listening. I hope you understand with my presentation. I'm sorry with my presentation if you do not know my. Thank you very much. See you next time.
Oh, thank you for your presentation, Sir Fathun. You don't have to be sorry. No, we are grateful for your exposition, if I may, of what's happening there in Indonesia. Do we have questions? I think the other presenters want to be around, so I guess we just have to open the floor for questions now for Mr. Fathun. Is anyone from the audience ready for with their question? Okay, so I guess since I am the chair of the panel, no, maybe I should just throw the first question, if I may. Mr. Fathun, thank you again for your presentation, and I really agree with what you are saying. And but I'm very much interested on how this particular security issue compare with other security issues in Indonesia. I know a couple of, I've met a lot of Indonesian scholars, here in Taipei too, and of course their interests are of course quite vast. Some of them studying even the Pacific Islands, or maybe focusing more on the traditional and non-traditional security issues in Indonesia. But I'm interested, how does this particular issue of climate change compare with other security issues? For example, the issue of terrorism and counterterrorism, maybe other political issues that you are having, maybe some other economic issues. What can you say about that, Mr. Fathun?
Okay, thank you very much. About terrorism, this is non-security, traditional non-security issues for Indonesia, I think about is Islamophobia perspective because Indonesia is majority for Muslim. So in Indonesia, very point, very Islam to suggest dianggap us to treat for the people and country. So terrorism is very issue, non-traditional issue in Indonesia, but Indonesia have to strategy for control and issue about we have BIN, Badan Intelijen Negara, we are have Kopassus, we have Densus 88, so control and also
Sorry, I don't think I can hear you. Maybe we're experiencing some, technical difficulty. But to just to make it clear, no, do you think climate change is given enough attention in Indonesia?
yes, climate change is very important for Indonesia because climate change, example for Jakarta, is very dangerous and very threat for Indonesia, for Jakarta. COP 26 past, Indonesia contributed for conference, and 2022 Indonesia to be presidency about climate change in Indonesia in Bali. Thank you very much.
I see. So in a way, you are kind of satisfied, with what maybe the government or how the people of Indonesia, what they are treating climate change back home. No, we have here a question from Mr. Ryan Dave Ryla. Let me just read this. Very interesting talk, sir. Thank you. I'd like to ask regarding the creation of another Indonesian capital in response to climate change. How does this affect the Indonesian identity, considering that a capital city is also the cultural heart of a country? And then, what advice can you offer to the Philippines, also as an archipelagic state, for cities in and region coping with climate change, especially rising sea levels?
Okay, thank you very much for the question. The capital of Indonesia for Jakarta is collaboration with the many organization for execution climate change. Example, UNEP, UNESCO representation, and many ambassador. Example, to Denmark ambassador for Indonesia. So Jakarta very dangerous about climate change because sea is naik satu meter for 2001 until 2009. So it's very dangerous, and the people executed for Greenpeace, people identity, for collaborated for execution the issue for Jakarta. Thank you.
Thank you. I think there is also a follow-up question. What advice can you offer to the Philippines, also an archipelagic state, for cities and the region coping with climate change, especially rising sea levels? Maybe you have something to advise them.
Yes, Indonesia is postural of archipelago states. Consequences of archipelago states, Indonesia to consequences for many dangerous for environmental issue. Example, plastic waste for Indonesia is very important. Jakarta is contributed for 7 ton for 7 ton plastic waste for Indonesia every day. So climate change issue in Indonesia is very many. So we are needs collaboration with altruism model. So the people, governor, capital city, and age, we are for self-restraint and the idea, because climate change is threat for all. So we are to collaboration and suggest to climate change is very important for all.
Yeah, thank you so much. Do we have any more questions from the body? Yeah, please feel free to send me a message. If you have questions. Thank you, Ryan, for your question. I see. I think another important thing that you mentioned in your presentation was this quote from the Quran. It's
Yes.
really interesting indeed. How do you think is this being lived, or I mean interpreted individually by the Muslim people?
Okay.
In
The
Indonesia?
Muslim interpretation about climate change, about interpretation for Quran, was to destroy it for the earth about the hand and rakus. You know rakus. You know rakus, Indonesian. You know rakus. What's rakus? It's not control for execution for resources for the country. To until effect to rakus is not control and very dangerous for the people. Quran interpreted that is destroyed for the resources about tangan, the hand of the power of people is not control for execution the resources.
Yeah, I think Pope Francis in the Laudato Si highlighted also a similar thing, no?
Yeah.
In a way, if I may just quote, I think this resonates very much with that idea when Pope Francis said, "We only have one heart, in the same wretchedness which leads us to mistreat an animal, not be long in showing itself in our relationships with other people. Every act of cruelty towards any creature is contrary to human dignity." Maybe you could also associate this with, for instance, the idea of hurting nature per se. Maybe we could start thinking that we are definitely not the only important being, if I may, in this world, and that we have to take care of our one planet.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Thank you very much for your time for me. Thank you very much for my presentation. I think enough for me. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Fathun. But actually, there is, I think, there is another question here, Mr. Fathun, for you.
Wow, very many for I think enough for me. Thank you.
Okay. But anyway, let me just read the question. maybe you have something, no? But Julia would like to commend your talk. It's very insightful. As someone from the Philippines, no, she deeply sympathizes for Indonesia's present climate crisis. And as a youth from the global South and a fellow ASEAN citizen, do you have suggestions on how we can effectively contribute in the climate justice movement? If I'm not mistaken, maybe you tackled this in a way in your presentation, or when you were talking about collaboration among government leaders in Indonesia. But if you have something, no, just feel free. But by all means, you could we could maybe stop here, and then we could join the other panel, because I don't see the other presenters coming in soon. Okay, so yeah, when we talk about security, it's really interesting, because it works both ways. Something that maybe unites us or maybe divides us. And in a lot of issues that we are facing right now, we could see this dualism, becoming very prevalent. And I hope that by listening to Mr. Fathun's research, you may also adopt maybe a similar framework, by making things explicit in your own localities, if I may. Because right now, I think that's the best that we can do to expose these processes. Because security, for me, I think is, security issues are not natural. In a way, we have different sources, sources of knowledge, and as researchers, as scholars, it is our responsibility to dig deeper within these pressing issues, and most importantly, for the protection of our planet. And if I'm not sure if you have any other questions. If you do, maybe you could just message me, or I don't know, email me. You have my email address here. We could try to have some interesting discussion, maybe even after this conference. But I guess since we are already done here, I think we should transfer to the other conference room. I thank you so much for your time, for joining us. I know you have a lot of things to do on a Sunday afternoon, but you chose to listen to these presentations. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Fathun. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for Mr. Patrick. Thank you very much for your choice. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We could now move to the other conference. See you later. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.